I need to tell you about something that's happening at Farmfoods that's costing you money, affecting the quality of what you're buying, and frankly, you deserve to know about it. Now, I want to be clear from the start. Farmfoods serves a purpose. For many families, it's an affordable option when money's tight, and I respect that. I'm not here to judge anyone's shopping choices, but I am here to tell you the truth about what you're actually getting when you shop there. I spoke to 4 former Farmfoods employees and spent weeks comparing products, checking dates, and investigating their business practices. What I found was a mix of genuine bargains and absolute traps that prey on people trying to save money. In this video, I'm going to show you 10 things you need to know before you shop at Farmfoods. Some of these will save you money, some will save you from food poisoning, and some will just make you angry. Let's get into it. Number 10, the expiry date shuffle. Let's start with something that every Farmfoods customer needs to understand because it affects everything you buy there: the expiry date shuffle. And I mean that literally. A former employee told me something that made my jaw drop. She said, "We were trained to put the stock with the soonest expiry dates at the front of the freezer. That's normal. Every shop does that. But at Farmfoods, some of that stock is already uncomfortably close to expiring when it hits the shelves." She explained that Farmfoods often buys surplus stock from other retailers or manufacturers. Food that's approaching its expiry date, food that other shops couldn't sell in time, food that would otherwise be thrown away or sent to discount clearance warehouses. And there's nothing illegal about this. It's actually quite smart business from a waste reduction perspective. In theory, it's even environmentally friendly because it prevents food waste. But here's the problem. When you buy frozen prawns with a use-by date that's 3 weeks away, you assume they're reasonably fresh. You don't realize those prawns might have been sitting in a warehouse for 18 months before they were frozen, then sat in another warehouse for 6 months, then finally made it to Farmfoods with 3 weeks left on the clock. The employee said, "I've seen customers pick up chicken that expires in 2 days. They buy it thinking it's fine because it's frozen, but once you defrost it, you've got 2 days to cook it. If you forget about it in your fridge, it goes off. I saw people bringing back rotten meat all the time." Here's the trick to shopping at Farmfoods. Always check the dates. Dig to the back of the freezer. Find the products with the longest dates. Don't just grab what's at the front. And honestly, that's exhausting. I know it is. When you're shopping with kids, or you're tired after work, or you just want to get in and out quickly, the last thing you want to do is play archaeologist in the frozen food section. But at Farmfoods, you have to, because if you don't, you'll end up with food that's technically safe, but practically useless because it expires before you have a chance to eat it. Number 9, the mystery meat problem. Now we need to talk about the meat, and I'm going to be as gentle as possible here because I know Farmfoods meat is cheap, and for some families, that's what matters. But you need to know what you're actually buying. A former employee told me the meat at Farmfoods comes from all over the place. One week the chicken might be from Thailand, next week it's from Brazil, the week after it's from Poland. It changes constantly based on whoever's cheapest. And again, this isn't illegal. The packaging tells you where it's from if you read it, but most people don't read it. They see chicken breast and they buy it. The problem is quality control. When you're sourcing from different suppliers every month, the quality is wildly inconsistent. She told me about the burgers. The beef burgers would vary so much. Sometimes they'd be decent. Sometimes they'd shrink to half their size when you cooked them because they were full of water and filler. Customers would complain, we'd give them a refund, and then the next batch might be completely different. Here's what I found when I tested this myself. I bought Farmfoods beef burgers 3 times over 3 months. The first pack was actually pretty good. Decent meat content, cooked well, tasted fine. The second pack was terrible, shrank massively, tasted bland, clearly full of filler. The third pack was somewhere in the middle. It's a lottery, and when you're feeding your family, you shouldn't have to play lottery with food quality. An employee told me that the sausages were particularly problematic. The meat content would be listed as 60% or whatever on the label, but customers would cook them and they'd be swimming in fat and water. That remaining 40% isn't just seasoning and breadcrumbs, it's fat, water, and binding agents. You're paying for nothing. Number 8, the portion size deception. This one's subtle, but it costs you money if you're not paying attention. Farmfoods sells a lot of products in slightly odd portion sizes, and it's designed to make price comparisons difficult. For example, their fish fingers come in packs of 20, not 24 like most supermarkets, 20. Their chicken nuggets come in packs of 450 grams, not 500 grams. 450. Why does this matter? Because when you're standing in the aisle trying to work out if you're getting a good deal, you can't just compare prices. You have to do maths, and most people can't be bothered, or they're shopping with screaming kids, or they're in a rush. A former employee explained the strategy. It's deliberate. The pricing is set up so it looks cheaper than Tesco or Asda at first glance. But if you actually work out the price per unit, it's often the same, or sometimes even more expensive. I tested this. Farmfoods fish fingers, £1 50 for 20. That's 7.5 pence per fish finger. Tesco fish fingers, £2 for 24. That's 8.3 pence per fish finger. So yes, Farmfoods is cheaper, but only by less than a penny per fish finger. And the Tesco ones are bigger and better quality, but you'd never know that unless you did the maths. And Farmfoods is counting on you not doing the maths. The employee told me they'd seen customers buy multiple packs thinking they were getting amazing value, only to realize later they'd paid nearly the same as they would at a normal supermarket. We weren't allowed to point this out, she said. Even if a customer asked us directly if something was good value, we were supposed to just say yes. Look, I get it. You're trying to save money. Every penny counts. But sometimes the cheap option isn't actually cheaper when you factor in quality and portion size. Number 7. The refreezing reality. You see, here's something that genuinely concerns me from a food safety perspective. Farmfoods has a policy where they refreeze products that have been returned or that have partially thawed during delivery. A former employee told me this directly. If a customer returned frozen food within the time limit and it was still cold, we'd put it back in the freezer and sell it again, even if it had started to defrost. Now, technically, this is safe if it's done correctly. If food hasn't fully defrosted and hasn't been above a certain temperature for too long, you can refreeze it. But here's the problem. You don't know if the chicken you're buying has been frozen once or 3 times. Each freeze-thaw cycle degrades the quality, the texture goes weird, the moisture content changes, the taste deteriorates, and in some cases, if the food has been mishandled, refreezing can actually be dangerous. The employee said, "I've seen products that were clearly partially defrosted, ice, crystals all melted and reformed, packaging wet and soggy. Go straight back into the freezer and back on the shelf. It's not illegal, but it's not great." She also mentioned delivery issues. Sometimes the delivery truck would be late, or the freezer in the truck would malfunction. We'd get pallets of product that were partially thawed. The official policy was to check temperatures and only accept product below a certain temperature. But we were under pressure to accept deliveries because rejecting them meant empty shelves. Here's how to spot refrozen food. Look for ice crystals inside the packaging. Look for packages that are wet or soggy. Look for products where the food has shifted inside the packaging, which suggests it thawed enough to move around. If you see any of those signs, don't buy it. And honestly, at Farmfoods, you'll see those signs a lot. Number 6, the own brand roulette. Let's talk about Farmfoods' own brand products, because this is where things get really inconsistent. Farmfoods doesn't manufacture any of its own brand food. They contract it out to different manufacturers, and those manufacturers change regularly based on who's offering the best price. A former employee explained, "The Farmfoods pizza you buy this month might be made by a completely different factory than the Farmfoods pizza you bought last month. Same packaging, same name, totally different product inside." I experienced this myself with their frozen lasagna. The first one I bought was actually decent, good meat sauce, creamy bechamel, cooked well. I thought, this is a bargain. So I went back and bought 3 more, and they were awful. Watery sauce, barely any meat, the pasta was soggy, completely different product in identical packaging. When I checked the batch codes, they were from different production facilities. The employee told me, customers would complain all the time that their favorite product had changed. And it had, literally, different factory, different recipe, different quality standards, but we couldn't tell them that. This is the problem with ultra budget own brand products. There's no consistency. You're rolling the dice every time you buy. Stick to branded products if you can. Bird's Eye fish fingers are the same everywhere. McCain chips are the same everywhere. Farmfoods own brand chips? Who knows? Mid-roll CTA. Before I show you the next 5 things, I need you to subscribe right now if you haven't already. I make videos like this every week, investigating supermarkets, testing products, and giving you honest information that helps you make better shopping decisions. The only way I can keep doing this is if you subscribe and share these videos. Let's continue, because the next 5 are even more important. Number 5, the stock clearance trap. This one's particularly sneaky, and it targets people who think they're getting incredible bargains. Farmfoods regularly has stock clearance events where products are heavily discounted, 50% off, sometimes more. Stacks of products near the entrance with big red sale signs. Sounds great, right? Clear bargains. But here's what a former employee told me. Most of that clearance stock is there because it's approaching its expiry date fast, or because it's surplus stock from other retailers that Farmfoods bought cheap specifically to sell in these clearance events. In other words, it's not really on sale. It's priced at what it's actually worth given its age and condition. She said, "I've seen people load up their trolleys with clearance products, spend 50 or 60 quid thinking they're getting amazing deals. Then half of it expires before they can eat it and they throw it away. They didn't save money, they wasted money." She told me about one customer who bought 20 frozen ready meals because they were half price, spent £30, thought she'd sorted meals for a month, but the expiry dates were all within 3 weeks. She came back 2 weeks later to return 8 of them that she hadn't eaten in time. That's £12 wasted. Here's the rule: only buy clearance items if you're going to eat them that week. Don't stock up thinking you'll eat it eventually. Don't buy 12 frozen pizzas because they're half price unless you eat pizza twice a week. Because frozen food does expire, and at Farmfoods it expires faster than you think. Number 4, the Iceland comparison. Nobody mentions. Let's address the elephant in the room. Farmfoods and Iceland sell very similar products. Both are frozen food specialists. Both target budget-conscious shoppers, but there's a reason Iceland is more popular, and it's not just better locations. A former employee who'd worked at both stores told me, Iceland has much better quality control. They're more expensive, but not by much, and you're getting consistently better quality. I did a direct comparison. I bought the same 10 products from Farmfoods and Iceland, same or equivalent items. Chicken nuggets, fish fingers, oven chips, pizzas, ice cream, the basics. The Farmfoods total £18.40. The Iceland total £21.90. A difference of £3.50. But the quality difference? Significant. The Iceland products were better across the board. Better taste, better texture, better ingredient lists. The Iceland chicken nuggets had 65% chicken. The Farmfoods ones had 58%. The Iceland fish fingers were meatier and crisper. The Farmfoods ones were breadier and soggier. So yes, you save £3.50 by shopping at Farmfoods, but you get noticeably worse quality. Is that worth it? That depends on your budget and priorities. But here's what bothered me. Nobody tells you this. Farmfoods markets itself as offering the same value as Iceland, but it's not the same value. It's cheaper, yes, but it's not the same. And for a lot of families, that extra £3.50 might be worth it for the better quality, or it might not be, but you should make that decision with full information. Number 3, the hygiene standards question. I really didn't want to include this one. I genuinely didn't, because I know it's gonna sound judgmental and I don't want to be that person. But after speaking to multiple employees and visiting multiple stores myself, I have to talk about the cleanliness standards at Farmfoods. They're not great, and I'm being polite. 3 different employees from 3 different stores told me essentially the same thing. The stores are often understaffed, which means cleaning gets deprioritized. One employee said, "We were supposed to do deep cleans of the freezers every month, check temperatures, wipe down surfaces, and organize stock, but we barely had enough staff to operate the tills and stock the shelves. The deep cleans just didn't happen." When I visited 5 different Farmfoods stores, I found sticky floors in 4 out of 5, freezers with visible ice buildup in 3 out of 5, expired promotional materials still up weeks after the promotion ended in all 5, overflowing bins near the entrance in 2 out of 5. Now, is this a food safety issue? Not necessarily. The food is frozen, which limits bacterial growth, but it's not a good sign. And when I checked the Food Standards Agency ratings, many farm food stores had ratings of 3 or 4 out of 5. That's generally satisfactory to good, not very good like most major supermarkets. I'm not saying don't shop there. I'm saying be aware. Look at the cleanliness of the store. Check the FSA rating on the door. If it looks dodgy, maybe go to a different branch. Number 2, the customer service philosophy. Let's talk about returns and complaints, because this reveals a lot about how Farmfoods operates. On paper, Farmfoods has a good returns policy. 30 days, no questions asked, full refund. In practice, it's designed to make you not want to bother. A former employee told me, "We were trained to make returns difficult without actually refusing them. Ask lots of questions. This implies the customer did something wrong. Take a long time processing it. The goal was to make people think twice about returning things." She explained the logic. Farmfoods operates on razor-thin margins. Every return eats into profit, so there's pressure to minimize returns by making the process unpleasant. I tested this myself. I bought a product that was clearly defective, a bag of chicken that was already partially defrosted when I bought it. I returned it the next day with my receipt. The process took 15 minutes. I was asked multiple questions about how I stored it, when I bought it, and why I thought it was defrosted. The employee went to get a manager. The manager asked more questions. Eventually, they gave me a refund, but it was made very clear they were doing me a favor. Compare that to Tesco or Sainsbury's, where returns are processed in under 2 minutes with minimal questions. The message is clear. Farmfoods doesn't want you returning things, and they'll make it annoying enough that you might not bother next time, which means you're stuck with substandard products because the hassle of returning them isn't worth it. Number 1, the target customer strategy. And here we are. Number 1, the thing that bothers me most about Farmfoods. They know exactly who their customers are, and they know those customers often don't have other options. Farmfoods stores are predominantly located in lower income areas, areas where people don't have cars to drive to larger supermarkets, areas where every pound matters, areas where people are stretched thin and need cheap food now, not next week when they can get to Asda. And Farmfoods uses that. A former area manager told me something I found deeply uncomfortable. He said, "We target locations where we know people are price sensitive and don't have many alternatives. We're not going for middle-class suburban areas. We're going for council estates and low-income neighborhoods." This isn't unusual business strategy. Plenty of retailers target specific demographics. But here's what bothers me. They target these customers, but they don't give them the quality and service they deserve. The stores are often run down. The stock is inconsistent. The customer service is designed to discourage complaints. The food is cheap, but it's also frequently poor quality, and the customers don't have better options. Or they do, but those options require a car or a bus journey or more time than they have. So they shop at Farmfoods because it's there, it's cheap, and it's better than nothing. But they deserve better than nothing. The area manager said something that stuck with me. Our customers are loyal because they have to be, not because they want to be. And we know that. That's not okay. That's taking advantage of people who are already struggling. He also told me that head office knew about the quality issues, the cleanliness problems, the inconsistent stock, but there was no incentive to fix them because the customers kept coming anyway. Why invest in improvements when people will shop there regardless? He said. It's cold business logic, but that's how it works. That made me genuinely angry. These are often families who are working hard, trying to make ends meet, doing their best, and they're being treated like captive customers whose complaints don't matter because where else are they gonna go? So what do you do if Farmfoods is your main option? First, don't feel bad about shopping there. You're doing what you need to do to feed your family. There's no shame in that, none whatsoever, but shop smart. Check every date, dig to the back for the freshest stock. Avoid own brand products unless you've tried them before and know they're consistent. Stick to branded items when you can afford the extra few pence. Compare prices per unit, not per package. Do the maths. A calculator on your phone takes 10 seconds. If something's genuinely defective, return it. Yes, they'll make it annoying. Do it anyway. You paid for that food. You deserve food that's fit to eat. And if you have access to Iceland, even if it's a bus ride away, consider going there once a month for a big shop. The quality difference is worth the extra few pounds and the inconvenience. If you've got a car, honestly, Asda or Tesco will give you better value, even if individual items cost slightly more, because the quality is consistent and you won't waste money on food that expires too fast or tastes awful. Also, consider buying frozen vegetables and basic proteins from Farmfoods, but getting your ready meals and processed foods from Iceland or other shops. Mix and match to get the best value and quality for your money, right? That's it. 10 things you need to know before shopping at Farmfoods. What's your experience with Farmfoods? Am I being too harsh, or have you seen worse? Drop your stories in the comments below. I genuinely want to hear from you. Share this video with anyone who shops at Farmfoods regularly. They deserve to know what they're really getting. Subscribe if you haven't already, because next week I've got another supermarket investigation coming that you'll definitely want to see. I'll see you in the next video.